Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Tracy, and today I'm going to be showing you how I work with some of the Colorize dyes with coloring myself. It's a long video, so let's get started. So first of all, what I like to do is I like to kind of separate the dyes out where I think they are, what parts I think they are, and I just lay them on little sticky notes so that I kind of can keep track of what I need to color because, for instance, a piece of the pant leg is attached to the beard pieces. And so it can get pretty confusing. So I like to maybe just draw a little drawing so I know which one to separate because I'm going to customize this Santa and I'm going to make him into an Irishman. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. And I'm just going to be using some 110 pound or 120 pound accent opaque paper. I'll be coloring with Distress Oxides mostly. So I'm just going to lay a few pieces down onto my cutting pad. And I don't have this speeded up right at this point of the video because I really wanted to give you the opportunity to see what I'm doing real time and see how long it actually takes, because I'm not going to jump in and say, oh yeah guys, this is so easy. This is a time-consuming project. So you better really love someone to make this card or want to show it off. Now if you follow the directions and make it a Santa, I'm sure it's a lot simpler, but there's some a little bit of thinking involved when you color it yourself and you customize it. Because, for instance, I'm not keeping the fur around the boots, and he's going to have red hair. He's not having any little pom-pom on the end of his hat. He's not having a sack or a Christmas tree. He's just kind of a standalone guy. So that has to be thought out, and you'll see one of my mistakes going down the road here. So I'm going to take the pieces that I've cut out and place them on the little place markers that I've made. Now you can use a muffin tin or whatever you like, but this one just gives a good visual. I've got notes about where things go and things like that. And I can add extra notes if I find a piece in there. For instance, I don't know what that is. I can't see it. His pants part, okay, was attached in with the vest parts. So, they're going to be different colors, and that right there is the hat. And I'm going to keep the hat. I'm just not having the pom-pom on the end of the hat. So I will go ahead and get all these cut out and sorted, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, now I've got them all cut out and sorted. I've got my picture in front of me, and I've got the big main piece. Yeah, as you can see, everything is all on their little sticky notes. They're not stuck to it by any means, so there's still risk of losing pieces, so don't get me wrong on that. But I'm not keeping a fur, like I said. And I already, I'm not keeping the little dingle ball on the end of the hat. He's still going to have a hat on, though. So I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here. It looks like I already cut off part of his leg. Yep, I did. I'm sorry. That part of the video, I guess I didn't have the video running. I'm telling you. What I'm going to be doing is coloring basically the outside edges of this Santa. And I'm going to be coloring them the colors that I believe, I'm putting to the inside. It maybe even just a little darker. So coloring the edge of his feet, and I'm just using the Black Soot here. And sorry, my ink's off camera here. I'm using a little makeup applicator just to get it around the edge of his feet, because just in case I don't get it glued on properly, because it's kind of difficult to put color in afterwards after you have the pieces glued on, particularly if any of your glue oozed out. So I'm going to be putting some black around his hat, because he's going to have a black hat. And just kind of coloring around the colors that he's going to be. So once I've got black where I think it should be around the belt area and the feet area and the hat area, I'm going to go in with his, let's see, I'm going to go in with the, I'm going to get another one of these makeup applicators, and I'm going to go in with Rustic Wilderness around the outside of where I think his shirt area is. And this is a part where you'll see that I made a mistake because parts of the shirt area are parts of the flat body, the main body piece. And so I didn't color those beforehand, and so I end up having to color them later, which is okay. I mean, learn from me. Remember, I modified this pattern, so it's going to be what it's going to be. And here I'm going in with the chip Sapphire around the jeans because I want him to be wearing blue jeans because, yeah, I'm a blue jeans kind of gal. And then finally I'll go in with some Rusty Hinge. No, I think Crackling Campfire. I can't remember. Yep, well, that looks like even a darker red. Nope, that's Crackling Campfire. And I'm so sorry, again, kind of off camera. But as you can see, I'm just kind of coloring around the edges of where his mustache and beard are. And then I'll start to color the parts. And I'm making sure that I get the edges so I don't have any white edges showing. Let me just kind of clean up my ink there. And what I'm looking for here is I've got a little silicone pad that I like to do my coloring on because it holds my pieces down. You can do it however you like, whatever works for you. But see, here's this little silicone pad, and I'm going to start with the face pieces. And I can see that there are 3 different colors. There's a light, medium, and a dark. I don't end up following the rules that much there. So that piece right there is the nose. And I always refer back to the picture. And this is layer 2 on top of that big piece, which is layer 1. And I'm using my little wax pencil to pick them up and move them over to my my little coloring station, so to speak. And I'm going to grab some, I'm going to grab tea dye and use again a little makeup applicator to apply the color here. I'm just kind of tapping it in. You see the piece holds fairly still when you do it this way versus sliding all over the glass. And I'm not real crazy about that. It's kind of a little bit on the dark side. So I'm just checking the fit there so that I make sure I get it straight pretty much. And then I have to decide what color to go in here. And I start thinking, well, first I need to poke out that little ear hole. I start thinking maybe pumice stone. You know, I mean, honestly, the Irishmen are pretty fair-skinned. So I want to, you know, kind of keep with that. So I'm just going to move this aside, and I'm going to, I believe I'm going to go in with Victorian Velvet. I think it's going to be good. Let's see here. You know, I mean, sometimes just deciding on the right colors when you don't go with, and well, the dyes are called skin, so you could do any skin you want. And I start looking at the pumice stone, and it just looks a little bit too gray. I'm thinking maybe not. A little gray. I don't really want him to have a gray face. That's kind of scary. We'll save that for Halloween. Where is my, I can never find the ink I'm looking for, and I couldn't even tell you what color I just grabbed there. I believe it's Victorian Velvet. And then I'm just going to add a little to that kind of yellowy face because I just don't want a hepatic Santa Claus. He can be, or not Santa Claus, but Irishman. See, I'm already looking at Santa Claus and thinking about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue together those two face pieces. I'm just going to use my little tweezers, and I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. And this is just some liquid glue. And it comes out, you know, kind of hard, so I tap it off there on my little silicone pad before I lay it down. And then just kind of lay it down, and when I have it where it needs to be, I'm going to give it a push, but I'm going to move the nose because it looks like the nose goes on after the mustache. So I don't want to put the nose on, and everybody pray I don't lose the nose piece because, you know, it's little. You see how tiny it is. It does help having those sticky notes there because it reminds me there's something important on them. So I'll go ahead and I will glue his skin down. Now that just sounded wrong. I'm sorry. And a little tricky getting the placement there because, I mean, in all reality, if I wasn't filming this, my face would be right down next to it because I don't have the best eyesight, and when I'm, you know, crafting, my eyes tend to water and get my glasses dirty. I'm telling you, I'm a mess. I'm a hot mess. But we'll get this on here. And I already tried one of these and discovered that I should have put the face on first because I I just gave up and tossed it. I was like, forget it, I'm done. So I know that some of you probably feel that way when you're working with these colorized dies, and particularly when you decide to not use colored paper and color them custom. All right, I've got his face down. Now I'm going to dress him. He needs to get dressed. So I'm going to start out and with the main shirt part and just poke all the little holes out. And just lay that down there, make sure that's what goes there. And I'm going to color that in Lucky Clover because he's wearing the green. If you're Irish out there, don't be mad if I have a terrible fake Irish accent. I am Irish, by the way, so just, you know, long time immigrants. So anyway, let me see here. I'm going to grab, I can see that there's a spot here where I'm going to need, where it needs to be green. Remember when I said that parts of his body are the base, so I'm just using this little makeup sponge to lay some color on there. You can do it however you like, and then laying the shirt part back down and just checking to make sure I've got it well covered underneath. Because that's going to be the darkest, the shadow layer. And then I'm going to lay this other piece on too, just checking. And, you know, you'll do frequent checks just to make sure, because again, you are coloring this on your own. You didn't start with any colored paper. So I'm just getting more of this rustic wilderness down. And I decide, and you'll see that the rustic wilderness is too warm for the cool colors. And so I kind of try to cool it down with the Lucky Clover. And you'll see that. Because the Lucky Clover is definitely a cool green. And for this, I'm going to use my little finger blending brushes. I have a set for oxides and I have a set for inks. And these are my oxide set. And it really, the ink goes down very nicely with these little brushes. And I'm making sure to get plenty of ink on here. I do use some distress ink on here, but mostly I use oxides. I do use the Black Soot Distress ink on the black things, and then I use the oxide on their highlights because it is lighter. So you see I'm laying this down and I'm seeing that I'm not real happy with the shade of green underneath, so I'm just going to use that same brush and cool it off a little with the Lucky Clover. And lay it back down. That's better. I'm liking that better. So the part that I had thought I was recording and found out I hadn't recorded, and I'm just putting a little color down here underneath because there's a part that shows through. I had cut off all of the fluff off of the feet and the hands, you know, around the wrists. I cut all that off because I, you know, just didn't feel like he needed to be fluffy. And just going in with liquid glue, avoiding those little holes. And I will tap that off because, you know, it's pretty globby. And when this glue gets on your distress inks, it makes them funky. It discolors them. And I don't think I've found a glue that doesn't make them funky. So I don't want to get excess glue on them. Okay, I'm going to move him aside because I'm going to do the highlight part of his vest or shirt or whatever. I guess in this case it's shirt. Just going to wipe off all that glue because I don't need it getting everywhere. And let's get this portion, and oh, here is the other side of his shirt, which I need to do in the Lucky Clover. You just poke out the little buttonholes here. So I went up to Hobby Lobby looking for the clearance, and this is the only die they had left under clearance, and well, I already have it. So did I end up buying some other things? Of course I did. I'm a crafter. So I'm going to go in here now with Cracked Pistachio using the same brush that I used, and I'm going to colorize, finger quotes, the two lighter colored shirt pieces with the Cracked Pistachio. It goes pretty quickly. And we're done with Cracked Pistachio. Put that one away or move it aside here. And I'm going to grab my tweezers, pick them up, move them out of the way, wipe up my ink again. There's a lot of cleanup with this. I'm telling you, I think I spent half the time cleaning up. Let me just move this up a little because I'm now realizing that I don't quite have you on camera. There we go, that's better. And let's go ahead and glue these pieces down. Let's see, just get some zoom going. Let's get everything in the right position here. That way you can see everything I'm doing without missing half of it. Nothing new, gluing it down. So I had this thought when my friend Bernie sent me a Christmas card this year with this Santa on it, and I'm thinking, you know, that would just be a great like giant leprechaun or something. You know, because I could do his beard in red, and I don't know, I love red hair. I can't stop staring at red hair. Red's my favorite color, I guess, but I mean, red hair isn't really red, it's kind of orange, but I like orange too. And yeah, so for sure I'm gonna have to make this guy a redhead. And I'm just adjusting that around. And now he's got his shirt on. Yay! Now we need to get some pants on him. So I realized that I've got actually parts of the pants are also parts of the main base. So as I lay this down and I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at what I need to color. And I'm going to be coloring that in with Chip Sapphire. I'm just going to use one of my finger blending brushes. And I'll use the same one that I used for the green. And I'll go in with the Chip Sapphire and kind of color in the pants where they need the darkest color. And I'm not worried about getting it in his boot area because that'll be covered up. And I'm not necessarily worried about getting it in the belt area either. Ideally, you would let this dry 100% before you go and start gluing things together, but I cannot be asked to wait that long. It's just, I can't. So let's grab this other piece. Let's wipe off this chip sapphire. And we'll grab this other piece and make sure that I've got coverage. And poke out the little pokies that need to be poked out. And I'm going to be coloring that one in, guess what? Faded jeans. Because, yeah, it works perfect there. So it's just slightly lighter than the chip sapphire, and it's pretty much a cooler color, so it works. And then the other pants part, which is this part right here, I'll poke that little hole. And I will do that also in chip sapphire, and then I'll put over the top a little bit of the black soot so that it darkens it down, because it needs to be just a little bit darker. I'll just use this little makeup applicator that I already used for black soot and just darken it down. So it still keeps a blue tone, it's darker, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and get his pants all put together. And you could cut these parts out of pattern paper. I can't imagine the brain work would take if you did pattern paper. And I believe I've seen a maker, one of Tim's makers, of course, do the shirt in a plaid. You could probably use a stencil as well. Okay, I can see right there that I'm going to need some more that chip sapphire. And I'm just putting in a dark color. Doesn't matter, it's going to be covered up. It just doesn't need to be white. There we go. If nothing else, if you take nothing else away from this video, understand that these things are very, they're difficult for me. It's just, again, there's a lot of brain intense work. It's not a mindless thing. You've got to pay attention. So if you learn how to make just this one, then hey, you've got one to make for next year. Or I don't know, he could probably have a bunny with him. Sitting on his beard, maybe. I don't know. So let's get the glue wiped up here. Okay, now we've got pants on, we've got shirt on. We need to get belt on. And this is a highlight or a shadow basically that goes on the pants that you could easily skip. I'm just going to give this some of that, whatever's on that pad that's got blue tones in it, I don't care. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to just grab my tweezers and get some glue on it and glue that bad boy down. And I'm just going to wipe with my finger the excess glue from that. And lay it where I think it needs to go, which I'm looking at a picture off to the side. And then just wipe off any excess glue. And this piece right here is a highlight. On the original Santa, it's white, but I don't want it to be white. So I'm going to go in with some Stormy Sky. And just kind of color it with the Stormy Sky. So it's a lighter blue, staying in the jeans range. Kind of a cool tone again. And some of these itty bitty pieces are itty bitty. Some of them I could barely even see. I'm just going to tap that off and lay it in where his little highlight needs to be. I'm wiping off any excess glue. There we go. Now our pants are on. Now we need a belt and shoes. So I'm going to move him out of the way. Let's just take a look at it and see if there's anything else I need to be doing. Nope. Okay. So I need to wipe off my glue again, and I need to get to work on the belt and shoes. So I'm looking for my black ink, and I dropped some, and let's see here. Lay this on here, and see, what I'm noticing is there's a lot of weird empty space there that doesn't make sense to me. And I'm thinking, well, where are the parts that go there? And I just can't really find the part that goes there. And then I realized that because I cut off the fur, there's a furry part that goes there that's not going to fit. So see, right there is where normally that little bag is going to sit. And I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do the bag yet, because he's pretty big. And I have a sort of a plan in my mind of how I want this to go. So just kind of fitting things to see how they work. So this hangs on its own off his elbow there. See, that's going to take up a whole card, and maybe even more by the time, if you put that tree on. Now, my friend Bernie put him on a slimline. It worked out really well. It was really cool. Super cool. And I was just in awe of how she was able to do that. And I have no idea what this piece is. Looks like a talk bubble. And I'm looking at it going, well, where would this fit? And I see it fits to the tree trunk, which we're not going to be using. So not a huge deal. Just thinking about this. I'm still trying to decide what is going on there with his hand. It's just bothering me. I can't figure it out. And so I'm going to look at the picture again and see where the parts are. I've got this part here, which is the highlight layer of this glove. Flip it around. So I'm just kind of previewing the pieces to make sure that I'm getting them in the right places, so I can figure out what I need to do here. And what it looks like I need to do is I need to probably add some color. I'm not sure about this piece and where it fits in, because it doesn't fit there. Just can't figure it out. I end up, I think, just omitting that piece because I don't know where it goes. And then I realize it's the fur piece. And I cut off the fur. But see, it would normally be the fur piece right around here or something like that. I don't know. Looking again at the picture. Nope, not there. Now you see the struggle. It's real. Okay, I know what I need to do here. I need to add some black here, because I realize that that is the empty space that needs a glove. So I'm going to carefully add black right in around where basically I would think the glove would stop. Now this is again part of customizing a colorize like this, is that you have to think about the parts that, you know, have other parts that go with them that you might not be using. So I'm just very carefully using my distress ink to kind of fill in here and create this little black glove for him. And on the original die, this is red. His gloves are red. So I'm just kind of going to that line and creating that kind of glove type space. And then I'm going to do the same on this hand. It's okay if I go beyond where the beard part is, because that, you know, that will be covered up. And then I'm going ahead and color in his hat too, all with the black soot. And then the highlights will be the black soot oxide. And let me just go in here and make sure that I've got the belt area well covered. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and poke out the little inner piece here. Now sometimes these colorize can be tricky too, because sometimes that inner piece goes somewhere else. So it'd be cool. It'd be probably tiny and hard for Sizzix to do, but it would be super cool if they could actually label the parts. So yeah, that's going to go there. And I realize that it's got a little bit of fur on it too, but I'm going to live with that. And I'm going to go in with my little makeup sponge, and I'm going to coat these in black soot. And you see that part that doesn't want to cover? I've obviously gotten glue on those because they won't, the glue will resist the ink. But it's okay. I'm not too worried about it. I'll go ahead and glue these highlights of the gloves down. Tap off the excess. Just kind of aim and fire. Hold it down on one end and then the other, and just kind of wipe off that excess glue. If you get too little though, it won't stick, so it's just, yeah, a little bit of a thing there. A little fuzzy piece on that one. And I just turn him where I need him so that I can best be comfortable trying to put things down. Okay, belt and shoes. I'm just going to clean up here a little. Mostly just trying to avoid getting ink on my hands so that I don't get it on everything else when I'm moving Mr. McGregor around. Okay, just checking there. Pick him up and move him down. And let's grab the belt and shoe pieces here. And so parts of the shoes are going to be black ink and parts of them are going to be black soot oxide. So both black soot ink and oxide. So I'm putting the pieces that I need to be inked on one part, and I'll start with those. And I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my little finger daubers here. And I'm going to show you something about the finger daubers when it's time to throw them away. Now you see how it's, maybe you can't see it, but it's really wiggly. Okay, I need it to be firm. I need it to not be wiggly. So if you do that, if it starts to look like it's lifting or something like that, throw it away, get another one. We don't want them so soft that they wiggle or you lose the point of using them, which is to get ink down. We'll see much better. It doesn't wiggle, it's nice and firm. It allows me to lay my ink down quickly. And as I'm inking around, I'm making sure to get around the sides of it so I don't have any white space. So I push very hard with my foam so it sinks down in. Then I'm going to go ahead and move those aside and clean up the black ink and clean off my hands, because I touched that little black ink pad, and going to glue down the first parts of the belt and shoes. Look at that belly hanging over. I can't call him a leprechaun because he's way too tall, but, you know, I mean, who says that leprechauns have to be small? Maybe he's a tall leprechaun. But he doesn't have a green hat, so I guess that puts him out of the running. He's a leprechaun supporter. There we go. Let's get these funny little feet on. Aren't those the funniest feet you ever saw? So cartoony. Oops, and my belt tried to slip away on me. I wish that would happen in real life. Yeah, something like that to happen, you have to actually make it happen. That can't be asked. Okay, just move him out of the way a little bit and get the highlight pieces out. And then I'm going to use the Black Soot Distress Ink Oxide again, because it is lighter than the ink. Not by a lot, but it's definitely lighter. And I'm going to go ahead and use the little makeup sponge that I've been using, because it works well. These I will toss afterwards, though, too. They're kind of a consumable. What ends up happening is I end up with a bunch of them with ink all over them, and I don't know if it's ink or it's oxide or what the heck it is. So I don't keep them separate. I probably could, but I'm not. And I'm going to actually pick these up and physically do the edges. And this is where we get really messy. But the little makeup sponge doesn't get enough ink into it and doesn't have enough give to kind of push that oxide down the sides like you saw me do with the sponge dauber and the ink. So I don't mind. I'll do it by hand. No big deal. And just get this itty bitty little piece. These are hard to do when they're so tiny because you basically are coloring your fingers. All right, let's get that out of the way. Let's get these hands cleaned off here. Desk cleaning with hand sanitizer, just to, it's not going to get the stains off, but it's going to get the surface ink off so I don't get it all over everything. All right, let's finish his clothing, then we'll get to work on his beard. Okay, tap that off on the side there. Turn him to the side so I can see what I'm doing. And lay down the highlight of the belt. Try to wipe off the excess glue. Just going to grab my little rag there. Let's just move this piece out of the way. Yeah, and I'm going to move this one too, because those are his eyebrows. I don't know how one eyebrow got one place and one got the other. Well, I think that in my mind, I'm thinking that's an eyebrow piece. In the end, well, you'll see. I make it into an eyebrow piece. Let's put it that way. I forced the issue because it just looks like a gruffy man's eyebrow. Kind of like Mike. All right. Yeah, once you color these in black, it's kind of hard to see those lines, but there are line guides. And this glue does dry clear, but I still want to not have a bunch of excess on there. I would love to be doing this with like multimedia matte or collage medium, but whenever I put them in these little tube things, they clog up so fast. I get so frustrated. I just can't. I just can't do it. You could certainly use other means to stick them down. Well, you'll see at the end of the video where I stick my sentiment down with my artist tack. You could cut them out with already sticky stuff on them. You just want to watch what kind of sticky stuff you're using, because some of it is so dang sticky that when you try to take the parts out, well, you probably have seen it. So I'm not going to go on and on about that. Let's grab these beard pieces. We're going to grab the beard pieces. We're going to grab the hair. That's a little bit of hair, and the wonderful, amazing mustache. I know a lot of people are like, ew, I hate those kind of mustaches. I just think they're a miracle. I think they're so cool. Now, see, the eyebrow pieces on the Santa Claus, they're white, right? But I can't have white eyebrows on a redhead. So I'm going to have to mess with it there. What I will do is I'm going to do the bottom layer of the beard in Crackling Campfire. So he's going to have a light and a dark layer, just like the one you see in the picture, sort of. And then the rest of his hair is going to be Rusty Hinge, which to me is a good color for a redhead. And I will use my blending brushes for this, and I'll do the light colored one first because I don't want to switch out brushes. You know, lazy me. So I'll do the highlight of his beard. I'll do the long handlebar mustachio and the little tuft of hair with the Rusty Hinge. And then I'll just kind of go in and grab my Crackling Campfire and do the big piece of his beard. All right. Time to get his face going here. I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces together, the top to the bottom of the beard piece, or struggle with my glue. Get a little bit out first, just so it doesn't blob out on me. And tap that off, and then try and get my placement correct on here. There we go. Try and make everything fit the way it's supposed to fit, and make sure it stays stuck. Give it a good push, and now that piece is ready to go down on his face. And I can see a spot that I'm going to have to color in with some green later, because the beard does not totally cover it. And luckily as crafters, we have all kinds of creative tools we can use to get color down after the fact. Because I chose not to do it now. Don't ask me why I made that choice, I just did. Just tapping my glue off, then fit that in just like a jigsaw puzzle. And what I've noticed here is this red part is actually part of that fur from that glove. So I'm going to trim it to make it look more like part of his beard, because I don't want it to be, I don't want fur on him. So I'm just going to trim it right off as if it were part of his beard. That's what scissors are for. Gonna make sure everything's good and stuck down. Let's get his hair and his mustache on. I'm looking it over just to make sure I didn't miss anything, and the nose goes kind of on top of the mustache, so just making sure that I get my nose in the right place. We'll get the hair down first. Tapping off the excess. And there's his beautiful red hair, and here comes his glorious mustache. Oh, yes, Mr. McGregor. I think we'll call him Mr. Pink. Anybody see that movie, Reservoir Dogs? I love that movie. I'm a big, huge Tarantino fan, and I don't miss his movies, and I watch them more than once, and especially I've seen probably Reservoir Dogs, I don't know, 5 times. Just love that movie. They're all like a little bit on the violent side for me, and I do get some nightmares, but I just love the storytelling, and the goofing off. You know, it's not all guns and bang, bang, bang and kill. There's, you know, there are sensitive parts. So I'm just throwing a little pink on here. I don't care which. I just, whatever pink's on my brush on that nose piece. And kind of just looking at how that nose piece has to go down. Oh, that's such a cute Irish nose. Yep, sorry, but I'm going to have to get my gray head in there. And I'm thinking I'll put glue on this thing, but I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drop off of there. So I'm going to pick it up with my finger. And this, y'all, is how stuff gets dirty. And I'm going to grab my tweezers because I just feel like I'm going to have better control with the tweezers from dropping it. And I mean, that's a fantasy because it's such a tiny little piece. Not as tiny as the eyes, mind you, but it's tiny. Okay, I'll just get it placed where I think it should be and give it a push down with my other part of my tweezers. And now comes the time that I need to do the eyebrows and eye parts. And so I'm going to have to wing it on these. Look at the picture, see how they're supposed to lie. And still looking at that picture, I'm convinced this is the right piece to go there. And maybe it is, and it does, mine ends up sticking out a little bit. I'm okay with it because the mustache sticks out too. And I'm perfectly cool with the shape of that. I'm just looking around, looking at placement of these so that I can color it properly, because part of that piece needs to be white. Such a funny guy. Okay, commit already. Got to get it on. So I'm going to use the Rusty Hinge. And I'm going to use a little makeup sponge because I only need to color a little portion of this. So I'm just leaving a little bit of white, and it doesn't have to be perfect because I can't. I just don't do perfect. Okay, happy with that. Let's get the other eyebrow. You know what? I went to Starbucks today and I got a tall coffee, and it's probably been a couple of years since I had a Starbucks. And I don't know about you guys, but when I saw the size of that cup, I almost had a fit, because for that and a piece of lemon cake cost me over $9. And the cups are so small now that they didn't even have like one of those things that you put around the cup so it doesn't burn your hand. So I'm standing here with a super hot cup of coffee that seems to be half the size they used to be. Never again. I'm not going to support Starbucks. That made me mad. Mike's like, why didn't you just refuse it? Because I wanted the coffee. You know, in hindsight, but honestly, the menu says what ounces they are. I wasn't paying attention. I just, you know, last time I went, a tall was at least a third bigger, if not more. This was more like, you know, a 7-Eleven coffee cup. I was not happy. That said, as I'm still sipping on my now cold caramel macchiato, which I rarely ever have a Starbucks, as I mentioned. All right, I've got those guys down. Now I've got some coloring work to do here because of that spot I missed. I am going to go in and just kind of do a little bit of white right where his other eye should be, because I, obviously didn't have the correct piece. And this is just a Posca paint pen, and that'll be fine. So I need to go in and I need to color this part green. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to try it with my little, I'm going to do black on that side, but with the green, I'm not going to really be able to get into that tiny space with the makeup sponge without getting black or without getting green onto his beard. So I'm going to take a stiff paintbrush, and it's kind of a stiff flat one, and I couldn't tell you what kind or what name it is because I'm not that kind of an artist yet. Maybe someday, but I mean, I would have to really dedicate a lot to learning, and that's just still going to be too big. I need a tinier brush because I'm not going to be able to get into that really small spot. So I'm going to just grab this, I think this is from Stampin' Up, something Nancy McCabe sent me, and you can dip it in, and it's got water, and you can go in and color in spaces you might have missed. So I'm good with that. All right, so we've got the belt buckle now, and that's going to be fairly easy. The belt buckle and the buttons. The buttons, again, are teeny tiny, itty bitty, small. And I'm going to grab my little wax pencil to grab them because I can't really pick them up with my fingers at all. And I'm going to color these with Fossilized Amber. I'm not going to go for actual gold. I could, but I'm not going to. And, well, what am I going to use? I believe I will go ahead and use another makeup sponge for that. It's just going to be the easiest. I just grabbed a clean one, and I'm just putting down the color onto the belt buckle, and then I'll squeeze color onto the buttons. That's all I need of that. And belt buckle is going to be fairly easy to put on because you can see the little demarcation of how it goes, and then also refer to the picture. So going to grab, let's see here, I'm going to grab my tweezers. Uh-oh, come back, don't run away from me. You've done so good so far. Okay, the orientation is the wide side needs to be at the bottom. This little rhombus. Let the wild rhombus begin. No, that would be rumpus. I still think we need some Where the Wild Things Are type stamps and stuff. With Max. Love Max. That was a book that I used to love reading to my kids. Yeah, and there's this one called The Little Father, and it's a poem. It's a poetry book. Well, it's a rhyming book, put it that way. And I'm going to go ahead and put the buttons down. I'm not going to put the third button down because I really don't want it on his pants because this is not a jumpsuit. Anyway, it's about this kid, and it seems to be like in the 1800s, and his father has an addiction to drinking India ink. And what happens when he drinks it is he shrinks. It's so weird. But I love this story. I just think it's funny. Where he finally is able to put his father in his pocket. So you see there I've got the eyes. I kept them right intact, right where they go, so as to not lose them. And now I'm going to have to carefully poke them out of there and try not to lose them. But I'm going to color them first. I'm not going to try to color those off of the paper because I just don't think it's going to fly. Let's get the Distress ink here. I know I have a big pad around here somewhere, but you guys know me. Around here somewhere is about every crafter's craft room. Unless you're really super organized, and I know people who are, and you know, I bow down to you. I'm not worthy, but it is what it is. See how tiny those, can you even see those pieces? I can barely see those pieces, and I'm sitting right here. So I'm going to put the glue down, obviously, directly onto the character. Little itty bitty dots, and there's too much because I couldn't get an itty bitty dot. It came out too fast. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper here and just give a quick dab to kind of spread that glue out because I don't want the eyeballs getting lost in it. Get that eye down. And depending on where you put the black part of the eye is going to make the world of difference in the expression on his face. So I want him to have kind of a Gaston look. It does. It kind of reminds me of a Disney character. There we go. All right. So he's pretty much done. Oh, I need to get his hat on him. I almost forgot his hat. Where is that hat? There it is. Could easily not put it on there and never even notice. So I'm going to color it. Now, let's see here. I want to color it with my Distress Oxide Black Soot. Because anything left underneath is darker, it'll be a shadow. I'll just use my little makeup sponge here, and I think I had to grab a new one because the other one I was using is buried somewhere in this mess that you can't see, that's off camera. Now I do leave some of my mess on camera because, come on, guys. But once I get him done, I will be doing some cleanup here because part 2, which is also on this video, but you can stop here. But what good am I if I don't actually make him into a card, right? So let me go ahead and start picking up here, and then I'll be back when I've got it all picked up. All right, I'm all picked up and I've got my little craft mat here. I don't keep it on here because I never know what I'm going to be messing with, and last thing I messed with was alcohol ink. And this is brand new, so I want to keep it pristine for a little bit. So I'm going in with some Fossilized Amber and some wild honey, and I'm just smushing. Not any rocket science, just a smushing. And this is the Holtz watercolor paper because obviously I got it very wet and I want to be able to keep it wet. And you will notice that I have sped up this part here because it's not like it's anything you've never seen before. And I spent most of my not sped up time on the colorized piece itself because that's what I mainly wanted to demo. But hey, let's go ahead and make a card here. So I'm good with the colors and I'm wiping off the mat. And I'm going to move the mat and just kind of wipe my little table here. And I'm going to dry this a bit with my heat gun. So I just want the background to be yellow, basically, yellowy gold. Because we've got a pot of gold coming up here. Why wouldn't we? Right? Otherwise it wouldn't be, you know, I'm trying to go with St. Patrick's Day, so I'm going to lay him on here. And I didn't want any dark colors in there because I didn't want him to get lost at all. So I'm kind of thinking about his placement. I've just got a black fingerprint on there, which is fine because I'm going to be covering it. I cut out this little cauldron from Tim Holtz. It's a Bigz Die. And I cut it out with some Tim Holtz paper. And now I'm just auditioning placement. Yeah, I think I want it to go right there. And I didn't bother with any shading or highlighting of the cauldron itself. I could have. I just didn't want to. I've got that glued down. Now thinking about how he's going to go on here. And I will be trimming this down as well. I still want to ground that, but let me go ahead and cut off this excess. I don't want him just hanging in midair. Moving him around, still need something there. Let's see if the other side of this piece will fit there. Nope, not really. So I'm just gonna cut a little hill. And that hill will just kind of tuck under that cauldron, and then he's got something he can be standing on. Nope, not in front. It's got to go back. So I'm going to take the Lucky Clover and I'm going to go ahead and color this like a grass color. And I'm just kind of laying the color down. Throw in some glue. Glue that puppy down. It's okay that I got a little glue on the cauldron because wait till you see what I'm going to do. Ha ha ha. Gonna put my glue. No, I guess apparently not because I can't be asked to try it more than twice. Lazy crafter. Okay, good, good. Happy with that. Well, so we need some gold. We need lots of gold. And just kind of moving him around, trying to decide, am I going to cut part of his feet off or not? Where am I going to put the sentiment? How's everything going to go? And so I want him standing on some gold. And so I am going to take these little confetti pieces. These are from Honeybee Stamps. And I forget the color. I, of course, took them out of their container because I like them this way. Sorry for the interruption there. That was Mike. He didn't know I was recording. So what I'm doing is I'm just laying down a bunch of glue. And this does dry clear. And you'll see I have a plan in mind here. But I'm putting down all of these little different sizes of, well, they're not really sequins. I guess they're confetti, but they're still cupped. So I still have to make sure that I'm laying the flat side down. And sometimes they want to stick to my little wax pencil instead of the glue. But the glue will dry clear, and again, you'll see I have a plan. So I'm just getting them down. And by all means, you don't have to do this part if you decide to try and do this particular type of card. It's just something I felt like doing. I thought it'd be fun to have that gold spilling out all over and him kind of standing on it. A little bit more glue and some more gold pieces. That's okay that they fell out. I'll just pick them up if they landed on the correct side. Okay, a couple more. Just sort of random. Get down. Thank you. Flip that one over, put it in that little space. Okay, now I need the glue. I need just a few coming down the side. Kind of clean off my wax pencil here. It's got glue on it. I have another kind. I have like that katana one, but I just don't feel like it works as well. I may look for it though, because this one's really giving me a hard time here. Just not wanting to behave itself. And I just shake them around so I can get as many as I can as flat, you know, on the flat side, so that I can just easily grab them and lay them down. So see, he's going to be standing there with all that gold What a lucky man he was. And I'm going to just speck the glue on now. And just start filling up my pot of gold. You could use, you know, if you have, I don't know, some people save their punches when they punch things out, you know, with a little hole punch. If you had those, or you could just punch a bunch of them out of some gold paper. If you don't have these, or you don't want to use a bunch of them. But, you know, let's be perfectly honest. I've had these for several months now, and when I run out, I'll just buy some more because they go a long way. Normally, I don't put more than 3 on a card. But the last 2 nights have been getting a lot. I would love to have this pot of gold. So I'm still seriously thinking about getting that glimmer machine. I'm thinking I'll order it online. I didn't see one at Hobby Lobby when I went today. Had I seen one, I might have purchased it. That's how close I am to saying, okay, I give in. I'll do the foiling, because I already told you guys I kind of messed up my ink machine, and no, if that thing doesn't work, we'll go back to the wax pencil. And I don't have a laser printer, so, you know, I'd have to rely on purchasing pre-printed laser things, or purchase a laser printer, which may in the long run be cheaper, but I don't know. I like the looks of hot foil. It just looks more impressive to me. And here's the crazy part, is that I started making cards because of how hot foiled cards look. And I had no idea how they got that way. You know, you come from a different world and you're like, okay, so I want to make those. What do I do? And so the first thing I bought was I bought the Evolution die cut machine, and I bought Anna Griffin stuff. And then it turned out they just weren't my taste. I mean, really? I spent quite a lot on it. I gave it to my friend Abraham because they're probably a little more to his taste. There's a lot of like fancy embellishments and things like that, but it wasn't foiling. They were dies. Okay, so I like how that looks, but we're not finished, folks. We're going to fill in that pot of gold with some gold stickles. Yes, sirree, Bob. We are not going to skimp on that gold, and we want different types of gold. So I'm going to fill in a lot of the empty spaces with spots of these stickles. I didn't feel like using all stickles was going to cut it. But when you put it in like this, it just gives it a certain, you know, bling. So we will, once I get the stickles down, I will have to wait for them to dry. And even though we take off and we're gone for a couple of hours, when I get back, they're still not quite dry. They're almost dry. They're dry enough where I feel like I can work with the card. But, and I'm just laying him here just to make sure that I don't really want to lay him on top of the stickles. And I'm not worried about that glob. Okay, so we're back, and this pretty much dry. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful, beautiful gold. So I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4 because I want to put it down on a card base. And let's flip that over and cut it the right way, silly. There we go. And go ahead and put my little confetti back. And I'm going to actually glaze him because I want his colors to pop a little bit more. And I'm over here spinning. I've got 2 double Lazy Susans here, and I know it's on one of them. There it is. So I'm going to use the Distress Glaze. And just, I'm going to rub it with my finger, and I'm going to glaze him. Just, again, to kind of make those colors stand out a little bit better. And, you know, in the long run, I didn't really notice a big difference. So I'm just kind of rubbing it around with my finger, getting it in the little spaces there, and then I'll take a paper towel and kind of buff it off. I went to so much work with that guy. I want him to really stand out. Oh, he's so cute. I can't even get over how cute he is. Such a darling man with his crazy Klondike mustache. I'm going to go ahead and cut a white card base. And, you know, that's, I cut it 5.5 by 8.5, and then I'm scoring it at 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and fold it right over. And this is going to be a side fold card, by the way. Let's try and put that back the right way. What you guys didn't see there is I knocked over my coffee. Yeah, my expensive little itty bitty Starbucks coffee. I'm going to go ahead and distress the edges here of this with some walnut stain because I can, and because I want to. See, what happened was Stickles was still a little bit wet there in a couple of spots. And I'm going to go ahead and just glue this down to the card base. You notice there's no rainbow here. I could have done, you know, I could have done like a directed rainbow on this, but I just, again, felt like it would be too busy with my Irishman. Okay, and I want to pop him up, and I am going to use my silicone glue, my Toll glue, so that he's popped up, but that I don't have to deal with putting a bunch of little thingies on him. And I can get it into the smaller spaces. Now he's pretty sturdy because he's got several layers. And then I'm just going to kind of gently let him drop, kind of get him into position, and just give him a little tap so that it's sitting down at the bottom. Then I have, this is a Tim Holtz as well, and I don't have the name of the set, sorry guys. And I'm not going to use the shadow layer. I'm just going to cut out the word lucky with that same Tim Holtz distress paper. And comes out real easy, cuts very nicely. And let me just poke out the little holes there, and I'm just cleaning off my pokey where I just noticed there's still coffee on it. I thought I got it cleaned up. Well, that is what it is. I'm going to be gluing this down with my artist tack, and I'm just off to the side searching for it, of course. What else is new? There we go. I'm just going to grab a piece of the artist tack and get that corner open if I can. Struggle with it a little bit. I'm going to lay the sticky side down, then I'm going to lay my word down on it, burnish it down really well, and I'm going to burnish it some more with my bone folder just to make sure I get all the little glue pieces on there. I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to roll the paper to get the word off. And I'm going to use my hand because I want to make sure it goes to the place I want it to go. That was easy. Super easy. I'm going to try and draw some little extra highlights in here with a Posca pen, but I realized that I had glazed this and it's resisting it. So that's okay. I'll go ahead and just put a little highlight on the pot of gold and try and get a little highlight on the belt. Again, it's not wanting to stick at all to that distressed glaze. Put a little bit of just a mark in the grass. Then I've got this little 4-leaf clover. I'll grab my Toll paint or my Toll glue, put a little bit of dab on there, and just dab that little thing on. And there you go, guys. There's our little modified Colorize. I'm just kind of looking at how the bag would go, and my brain doesn't even remember it goes below his elbow. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing to my channel and hit that notification bell if you want to know every time I upload a video. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.